Hey everybody, I bet this was the last thing you were expecting since last week I posted my final Animal Jam video. And it was the final video on Animal Jam specifically. But after watching it and realizing what a defeatist attitude I had in that video, I decided I don't want to go out that way. I want to still create, I want to still make content, just not on Animal Jam. And that's why I'm promoting my new Animal Crossing channel with this video. So those of you who saw that video, you probably heard me say at some point in that video that if I come back to YouTube, it'll be to start a commentary channel, but I don't want to do that. Honestly, ever since I released my final video, I've really improved mental health wise. I'm not angry, I'm not bitter anymore. I'm happy, I'm at peace. And rewatching that video made it seem like I left on terrible terms, and technically I did, but I don't want to go out that way. I want to still create, just not Animal Jam stuff. I don't want to create a full-length series again. I don't want to do any of that hard work, weekly posting, or posting every once a month or whatever. I just want to post on my Animal Crossing channel whenever I feel like it. Just a fun little thing to do. And the reason I'm using my face in this video instead of logging onto Animal Jam to record is because I can't log into Animal Jam, guys. I'm sorry. I physically can't do that to myself. That game has really spiraled. It doesn't feel safe anymore, and I've been away from it for so long. I can't do that to myself. This is the channel. I'm sure you guys recognize that this was going to be the channel that I would have returned to if I made that commentary channel, the 0.001% chance of returning thing. It's going to be a very simple, fun little channel, nothing too complicated. Alright, so now that I've shown you my Animal Crossing channel, I'm going to address a few issues with my final video that I realized, and I just gotta point them out now. First off, when I was talking about how Jambassadors are restricted, I used a screenshot that I didn't realize was from May, when all the crazy stuff was happening. And let me just clarify right now. Jambassadors are not heavily restricted or controlled at every move, okay? That was a mistake I made in my video. What I meant to say was I myself felt restricted because there's a lot of content that I wanted to make that just didn't fit the kid-friendly stuff, you know? I wanted to make exposed videos on dangerous people in the community because back then I had that drive. Nowadays, I really don't. I want to move on with my life. But at that time, I don't really remember it being okay for Jambassadors to make exposed videos on dangerous people in the community. I mean, obviously, I haven't been in that program since May. I don't know what's changed. I honestly hope and am happy to hear that the Jambassadors are happy with their title and that things are better now. But I became a Jambassador during a very difficult time, okay? 2019 is when all the OGs were leaving. That's number one. There was a lot more drama and toxicity in the community that year. And then 2020 hit, the pandemic happened, and the toxicity just rose up. A lot more people returned, and not for the best intentions, unfortunately. So I was a Jambassador during a very difficult time, not just on the game, but in the world. So, of course, my experience, personally, was not the most amazing experience. Another thing you should take into account is that I was an AJ Classic based channel, and AJ Classic was not getting updates back then, not enough updates to make a whole channel with content for that game. You know, it was a very stressful time where I was like, what content do I make? I've tried Play Wild. Play Wild hurts my eyes. Like if you know me in real life, I bet none of you do. Those who know me in real life, not people who watch my channel, but those who know me in real life know that I don't go to parties with fluorescent lighting. I avoid fluorescent lighting at all costs because it gives me migraines, it makes me nauseous, and it makes me sick. Some people just can't handle it. And Play Wild, unfortunately, has a lot of those colors that make me nauseous and sick, and I get migraines, and it happened a lot when I was a Play Wild YouTuber. Now, before you say, well, you weren't even pressured to make content, so why did you worry so much? The thing is, if I was going to be a Jambassador, I wanted to be able to make content regularly and still provide for the community, and I could not do that on Play Wild. I could only do it on AJ Classic, and AJ Classic was just being kicked to the curb. I didn't know what to do. I was always in a position of not knowing what content to make, not knowing what was appropriate or not, You know, when you're someone who's not very kid friendly and you're told by a Jambassador set of guidelines, your content must be appropriate for all ages, but then you also hear they don't restrict your content, they don't tell you what content not to make or what to make. It's like, which is it? Is it, are we restricted or not? And I never understood the difference, you know, because I'm already not that kid friendly. The other Jambassadors are perfectly kid friendly, so it's never crossed their minds. But for me, it kind of did. More and more each day, I wonder why the heck I was in that program. Why the heck did I accept the email? Why did I decide to be a part of it? You see, in early 2019, everyone kept commenting on my videos saying, you should be a Jambassador, Ellipsity. And I wanted YouTube fame back then. You know, yes, we all went through that phase. Don't deny it. We all wanted YouTube fame, especially on Animal Jam at this point. We all wanted that. And in early 2019, I was young, I was stupid, I was naive, and I accepted that title without even thinking it through, without even thinking about all the new limitations I would have to abide by if I wanted to have that title. But once I got the title, I thought, I can't just give it up. I thought, I want to do something with this title. I want to actually help the community. And when I realized that that was out of my control, that no matter what I tried to do, things were still getting bad, that was hard for me to accept. And I know in that video I seemed like the most depressed person on planet Earth. But here's the thing, leaving Animal Jam affected me a lot more than I realized because this game was my home, okay? 2017, 2018 was like the peak of not only my time on that game, but probably my life. 2017 and 2018, it doesn't get better than that. That was like the peak of my life. I loved what I was doing. I loved the content I was making. I thought, I want to do this forever. I want to work at HHQ one day. I had big dreams, unrealistic dreams too. But that was the peak of my lifetime so far. I understand there's going to be better times in life, but so far, 2017, 2018 was the peak of my lifetime on that game. And then real life too. I loved what I was doing. And that all changed in 2019. 2019 is when it all began to fall apart. Because once I accepted the title, it's like all this new stress in the community was happening. People were suddenly assuming that just because I was a Jambassador, it meant that I sucked up to HHQ and that I never had opinions of my own. People were a lot meaner and more hostile towards me, more demanding of the plushies, and it's like, by default, I was seen as an enemy and looked down upon by the community until I proved otherwise. And I hated that, you know? That never ever happened when I wasn't a Jambassador. I also, when I was a non-Jambassador, I also was free to speak out on the issues anytime. I didn't feel like there was going to be some higher power saying you can't speak about that because you could lose your title. That never actually ended up happening, but I constantly feared it. You don't know how long I feared I would lose my title. I constantly feared that I was going to say or do something that would get me kicked out of the program. And that constant anxiety and stress just led to me freaking out at one point. I had breakdowns. I was like, this is too much for me. My heart condition was worsening, and it was a very stressful time in my life, all because I decided to accept a title I wasn't fit for. And when I made that final video, I was not trying to discourage people from chasing after their goals to become a Jambassador. What I really meant to convey with that incredibly negative video was that the title is not for everyone, okay? Just think of it this way. In real life, if you cannot handle babysitting hundreds of kids, if you cannot handle responding to demands of plushies or whatever, if you can't handle those things in real life, you can't handle them on this game because it gets pretty stressful pretty fast. And if there's one thing I would like to change about my final video is that I gave HHQ all the credit for things going wrong in the community. I have to remember the toxicity rose up once COVID started. That's not HHQ's fault. I still really dislike them as a company because they're not the company I once knew and loved. They've changed a lot. They've shifted their focus to play wild. The game as a whole does not feel safe anymore, but that's just me. If you have a positive opinion of HHQ in the game, I'm not judging you for that. I really did not mean to come off in that video like I was shunning people who still play Animal Jam. You can play the game. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't affect me any. I was just conveying how I felt, how frustrated I was, and how this game that once felt like my safe spot wasn't anymore. As far as everything I said about AGHQ in that video, I still stand by it. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion. I wasn't trying to bash them and slander them. I'm saying my opinion, how I feel. And a lot of people may agree with it, but a lot of people may disagree. That's the beauty of an opinion. You can agree with it or you can disagree with it. It's just like, I know that video came off as me blaming me being a Jambassador for the reason. Oh, there's my cat. He's behind the curtains. One thing I kind of did in that video, it probably seemed like I was blaming the company and blaming the Jambassador title for the health issues I had. But that was not the case. A lot of that bad stuff was happening right after I became a Jambassador. Coincidentally, you could say. But it was just too much. And the stress did not help my heart condition. I didn't say that it caused it. It just didn't help. Because when you have a condition like that, you got to avoid stress. You got to relax, and I wasn't, and that's probably my own fault. But it's so conflicting when Animal Jam is your hobby, it's your outlet, and it calms you down, but it also equally fills you with stress. And that's what it was doing. I couldn't just give it up and go on a break, but I also knew that it was affecting my health. It's like that's such a hard position to be in. Now, to properly end off my channel, I want to say thank you all for the journey properly. I loved it. Even though there were hard times as a Jambassador, you guys made it easier. Making my content made it easier. That put me at ease throughout all the stress. I know I could have dropped the role at any time, but like I said, I loved the community so much. I couldn't just give it up like that. But being an Animal Jam YouTuber, for the most part, was the honor of my life so far. Sounds crazy. There's going to be bigger and better things in my life, but so far, that was a very important chapter of my life, and I loved everything I was doing, except for some parts where it was just really bad and weird, especially 2019, 2020, and 2021. But 2017, 2018 will always have a special place in my heart. If there's any time of my channel that I could relive again and again, it would be 2017, 2018. When Life is Full of Phantoms began, This Is Ridiculous started, God, that was the renaissance of my channel. It doesn't get better than that. I really hope the best for all of you in the Animal Jam community. Keep doing what you love, and be careful, especially with how scary and dangerous the community is now. And I really hope that changes. If the community can become safer, and the company can actually step up just a little bit, I'll consider visiting. But right now, I don't want anything to do with that game. I'll see you all on my Animal Crossing channel, and have a great day.